Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics with a beautiful, colorful quilt that, it's just the perfect quilt to just welcome in an early spring and the pop of beautiful flowers coming in summer. When I saw this collection, which was called Dragonfly Dance by Northcott, I knew we wanted to get beautiful blocks that have this stained glass look. So this is called the Stained Glass Panel Quilt, again, based on Dragonfly Dance by Northcott. That center panel not only inspired me to create this quilt, and it's incredibly affordable. I'm amazed at the price of this kit, but I couldn't stop. I wanted to use the panel in another smaller project. So whether you want something for the wall, maybe something for a breakfast area. This is another project. This is called Point of View. And look at the back, right? It's spectacular. And you can certainly check all that out if you're unfamiliar with our Point of View. They're really fun to make. Both projects are incredibly beginner friendly. You do not need to be a highly skilled, having been quilting for years to do either one of these. And today I'm going to unpack that and I'm going to show you how easy this is. So of course, both projects actually start with a panel. Always give those panels a good press. That's really important. Inside our pattern, we're having you trim that up to a specific size. Make sure you're following that exact measurement. It's almost easiest to just trim the white off the edges first and then start squaring that up. That's kind of a good starting spot, right? Because now you know you have that panel. And if you need to ever trim up a panel, you want to trim a little from the left, a little from the right, from the top and the bottom to keep it kind of square. Once you have that panel cut out to the exact measurement inside your pattern, then of course we're just adding a little bit of a strip on both sides as well as the top and the bottom. And for now, that part of the project, you can put that aside because now we begin to focus on the patchwork here. And I'm going to show you how simple and easy that is. Again, entirely beginner friendly. And don't you love that when a quilt looks more difficult than it actually is? And you are going to be getting a lot of compliments, and that is certainly a showstopper. By the way, this is the amazing backing. It is also just these spectacular dragonflies. And of course, we have that here. It's coordinating in with our project. So super easy. This is a fat quarter project here that you're going to be cutting 7 of your fat quarters, all being cut the same. I like that. It's the same thing over and over again. And we'll give you a diagram showing you exactly what size to cut each fabric. You could grab some low-cost stickers from the dollar store. Just as you're cutting your fabric, go ahead and label that. And we've done that ahead of time. It helps us stay organized as well. We always label our fabrics here when we're sewing. So we have an A and a B, and then we just use this is kind of a window pane that's in between. That's it. Good clean cuts are going to be your friend here. If it's been a while since you've changed the blade in the rotary cutter, just do that. If you're going to invest money in kits and sewing, just replace that blade. And I, in the past, have been pretty lazy about that. Not anymore. I know a good clean cut is just a great way to start a new project. Once you have that sewn together, just press toward the black on that. So that's the first part. You're going to be amazed at really kind of how we just keep doing the same process. Our next pieces, we have our C and our D, and we have our sashing in between, and of course we're pressing toward that black again. Noticing a trend, and this is why this is just so beginner friendly. Just opposite, and you know why that's so beginner friendly? I'm not having to match those seams. All I'm having to do at this point is pin this here, pin here, sew a 1/4 inch, and then we went ahead and pressed this direction. And of course, we'll have the pressing instructions in your pattern. So you can see this is why this is so beginner friendly. Once you have this part, we have a bottom portion. We have our window pane. Sew that together. 1/4 inch seam allowance is very important on this one. If you're like me and I like having an aid, this is really where the seam guide comes into play. Once you dial in exactly where that 1/4 inch is on your machine, laying down one of the seam guides has a nice ridge on it. You can always lift it up and take it away when you don't want it. and put it right back down. I do this many, many times before I replace that. This is a 6-pack. Now, this seam guide setter here is for a scant quarter. I actually don't recommend the scant quarter on this one. I recommend a regular 1/4 inch. So in this case, I don't think you really need this pack, but if you like to sew with a scant quarter on other piecing projects, this might be a great value for you. But for me, on this one, I only needed the regular seam guides, and I know exactly where that 1/4 inch is because I have it pre-marked with my Cluck Cluck sew tape. I've kind of set that runway down on my machine so I can always take off and put on my seam guide and know exactly where to put that, just because I've tested that on my own machine. So we can see now this block can come together very, very quickly. But again, the 1/4 inch seam allowance, and Tammy wanted to make sure that I mentioned that, was a very important part of getting the blocks to come out just the right size. For our next pieces, here, you've here, sashing, or what we're calling kind of our window pane. And once again, pressing toward the black. This is why this is so beginner friendly. Placing this to the right. And again, I'm not having to line this up. I just need the top and the bottom to line up. Placing right side together, pin, everything in between. So with our 1/4 inch seam allowance. And now we have our block. Let me just show you the back of that. Isn't that something? It's beautiful. One of the reasons that when I was designing this project, normally when I'm doing patchwork, the blocks are kind of smaller, but I thought this quilt is all about the fabric, and just breaking it up with a little bit of deep black sets each of these fabrics where you get to focus on just the beauty of that particular design. I think Northcott did such a spectacular job with this. Now remember that I said each of the 7 back quarters is cut the same, okay? That means the placement of these fabrics will change. So because these blocks are square, move this out of the way, you can actually turn these into any arrangement you like. You don't have to follow the layout that we did. Once you determine the layout, I'd recommend you create all your blocks. And then if you have a design wall, you can lay them out and either follow our arrangement or do your own. You could, if you just happen to like these being opposite, turn it. That's the fun part, right? So you're just completing your blocks, sewing these together across the top. You have horizontal sashing joining them. And again, your bottom row, right? So that's easy. Since we have this together, once you have your side pieces sewn together, this, and this, you'll attach this here. You'll have done your top row, bottom row, and once again, this one will attach to the right side of that panel. And everything sews together. It's that easy. And then we just finished it off with a little bit of black kind of just to tie that off and some black binding. And of course, that stunning backing is such a lovely surprise, right? To have such a pretty fabric on the back. So you can see that this is so beginner friendly and visually just spectacular and unbelievably affordable. So head to the website now to get this exclusive kit from Shabby Fabrics. And if you are inspired to make a point of view, I'd love to have you pick up that kit as well and join me on that full tutorial. I'll see you soon on another Shabby video.